Have you ever poured your heart into someone, only to be met with silence? That cold feeling when your messages go unanswered, and you start questioning your worth? Apple's watch video till the end and PLS like and subscribe to our channel Stoic Mysteries. 1. Detach your worth from her response. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Now think about that. A woman ignoring you is not an outside event you can control. You can't force her to reply. You can't twist her mind into giving you attention. But you can control how you interpret her silence. That is where your true power lies. Here's the trap most men fall into. The moment she doesn't text back, the ego takes over. It whispers, "You're not good enough." She's losing interest. She must be talking to someone better. And suddenly, her silence becomes a weapon. Not because she intended it, but because you handed your self-worth over to her response. Let's pause here and imagine a scenario. A man named David meets a woman at a coffee shop in Chicago. They talk, they laugh, and he gets her number. That night he texts her. No reply. He checks his phone every 10 minutes. The next day, still nothing. He spirals, replaying every word of their conversation, convincing himself he did something wrong. Now ask yourself, who is controlling David's sense of worth in this moment? Not David. A woman he barely knows holds his confidence hostage. This is exactly what Marcus Aurelius warned against. He taught that we must never place our happiness in things beyond our control. Her response, or lack of it, is outside your control. Your reaction to her silence is entirely within it. Think about it like standing in front of mirrors. One mirror is clean and sharp, showing you as you are. Another is fogged up, another cracked, another warped like a carnival mirror. If you judge yourself by each reflection, your identity changes every second. One makes you taller, another makes you shorter, another makes you look broken. But in reality, none of those mirrors change who you actually are. A woman ignoring you is just a cracked mirror. It doesn't define you. It doesn't hold truth. Psychology backs this up. Studies on attachment show that people with anxious attachment styles are more likely to internalize rejection, believing silence means they are unworthy. But people with secure attachment don't see silence as a reflection of themselves. They see it as neutral. And here's the Stoic truth. The more secure you are within yourself, the less power another person has over your emotions. So when a woman ignores you, remind yourself this is a test of discipline, not value. You're not here to convince her of your worth. You're here to live it. If she fails to see it, that's on her, not you. Detach your worth from her response, because the moment you do, her silence loses all its power. And in that freedom, you rediscover your strength. Point 2, do not chase, create distance. When a woman ignores you, the first instinct for many men is panic. The mind races. Maybe she didn't see the message. Maybe if I call, she'll pick up. Maybe if I just explain myself, she'll understand. This is where desperation begins. And desperation always destroys attraction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Your panic doesn't come from her silence. It comes from the meaning you give to that silence. And the more meaning you give, the more likely you are to chase. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a man named Alex in London. He goes on a great first date. They laugh, they connect. He feels chemistry. The next day, he texts her, "Had a great time last night." Hours pass. No reply. By evening, he sends another, "Hope you got home safe." Still silence. By the next morning, panic takes over. Did I say something wrong? Did she meet someone else? He sends yet another message. At this point, what's happening? He thinks he's showing interest. In reality, he's confirming what many women subconsciously test for. Does this man control his emotions? Or do his emotions control him? The more he chases, the more she pulls away. It's like tugging on a rope. The harder you pull, the tighter it resists. But the moment you let go, it slackens. Creating distance is not about playing games. It's about restoring balance. Stoicism teaches restraint, the ability to pause before reacting. By creating distance, you're not punishing her. You're protecting yourself. You're saying, my time, my energy, and my dignity are too valuable to waste on someone who doesn't reciprocate. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. Now let's flip the scenario. Imagine another man, Michael, in Los Angeles. Same situation, great date, no response after his text. Instead of chasing, he shrugs, sets down his phone, and goes to the gym. He meets friends, focuses on his projects, laughs over dinner with his family. He doesn't give her silence the power to disturb his peace. Days later, she texts back, "Hey, sorry I've been busy." Who do you think now holds the frame of power? Not her, Michael does, because he didn't chase. Psychologists call this reactance theory. The more you pressure someone, the more they resist. The less you pressure, the more freedom they feel, and often, the more they come back. So remember, every time you feel the urge to chase, stop, breathe, create space. Let her wonder where your attention has gone. That distance not only destroys her ego, but also rebuilds your own strength. Because the man who chases loses power, but the man who walks away becomes unforgettable. Point 3. Shift focus from her to you. When a woman ignores you, your ego wants to obsess over her. You check your phone. You reread old messages. You wonder what she's doing, who she's with, why she's silent. But here's the problem. Every ounce of energy you invest in her absence is energy you steal from your own growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." When you obsess over someone else's silence, you are wasting the most valuable resource you have, your time. Let me tell you a story. There's a man named Ryan in Toronto. He meets a woman he likes, and for weeks he puts her at the center of his thoughts. When she's around, he feels alive. When she doesn't reply, he collapses into anxiety. His friends notice he's distracted. His work performance dips. Even at the gym, his focus slips because he's glued to his phone, waiting for her text. What's happening here? Ryan has placed the center of his universe in someone else's hands, and when she withdraws, his whole world crumbles. Now contrast Ryan with another man, Daniel. Same situation. A woman ignores his text. But instead of spiraling, he redirects his energy. He hits the gym harder. He pours more hours into building his business. He picks up a book on philosophy, sharpens his mind, and invests in himself. Over time, Daniel becomes stronger, more confident, more self-assured. And here's the twist. While Ryan remains stuck, waiting for validation, Daniel becomes magnetic. Why? Because he doesn't need anyone to validate him. Psychologists call this self-investment. People who build their own identity around growth and discipline radiate confidence. It's the difference between seeking validation and generating it from within. Women, men, people in general, are drawn to that. In the West, men are often conditioned by movies and media to think chasing her is romantic. We've seen countless rom-coms where the hero wins her heart by proving his devotion, but real life doesn't work that way. Obsession rarely breeds attraction. Independence does. So when she ignores you, don't sit in darkness. Build yourself in the light. Pick up weights. Learn a new skill. Pour your heart into your mission. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that a man's purpose lies in virtue and action, not in craving approval. Imagine if the emperor of Rome had wasted time chasing letters from a woman who ignored him. Rome would have fallen. Instead, he poured himself into discipline, philosophy, and leadership. When she ignores you, don't think of it as rejection. Think of it as redirection, a chance to return home to yourself. Because here's the truth. The man who focuses on himself never truly loses. He only grows. Point 4. Master the pause. Silence. That's what hurts the most when someone ignores you. It's not just the absence of word. It's the storm it creates in your mind. The urge to respond, to react, to demand answers. But here lies your greatest weapon, the pause. Every night he wrote about controlling impulses, about choosing reason over reaction. He knew that true strength wasn't in force but in mastery over the self. Let's imagine a man named Chris in New York. He texts a woman he's been seeing. "Hey, want to grab dinner tonight?" Minutes pass. Hours pass, no reply. His chest tightens. His ego screams, "Send another one." Ask again. She must have missed it. Chris grabs his phone, but then he pauses. He sets it down. He takes a deep breath. He remembers that every action born from desperation weakens him. Instead of reacting, he waits. Days later, she finally responds, "Sorry, been busy." Chris didn't chase, didn't panic. His pause sent a silent message. "I am not shaken by your absence." This is the essence of Stoicism. By mastering the pause, you master perception. You show the world and yourself that you are bigger than impulse. Think about a fire. Throw gasoline on it and it rages out of control. but let it burn out on its own and soon it dies down. The same goes for emotion. If you feed the urge to react, you create chaos. If you pause, the fire weakens. Psychologists call this response inhibition, the ability to resist an immediate reaction in favor of a better long-term choice. Studies show men who practice self-control are perceived as more dominant, attractive, and stable. Why? Because restraint signals power. Now picture a different scenario. A man named Tyler in Los Angeles doesn't master the pause. His girlfriend doesn't reply to his message, and within an hour, he's sent 4 more. By the 5th, she's rolling her eyes, feeling smothered. His desperation kills attraction. His lack of pause destroys his frame. But when a man can hold back, when he can breathe, step away and let silence stand, he flips the script. Instead of his emotions controlling him, he controls his emotions. And that, in the eyes of both women and the world, is magnetic. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Pause is proof of that power. It's proof you are not enslaved by urges, not pulled by invisible strings, not a slave to your emotions. So when she ignores you, master the pause. Don't rush, don't beg, don't crumble. Because silence, when held with strength, is louder than words. Point 5. Observe without attachment. In our culture, obsession is often glorified. Hollywood sells it to us. Songs idolize it. A man waiting by his phone, tormented by silence, is painted as romantic. But Stoicism cuts through that illusion with brutal clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe things as they are, not as your heart paints them." When a woman ignores you, the anxious mind creates stories. She's losing interest. She's with someone else. She must not care. But none of these stories are facts. They're attachments, emotional chains that pull you into misery. Let's look at an example. A man named Ethan in Los Angeles goes on 3 amazing dates with a woman. They text daily and he feels something real. Suddenly she goes quiet. Hours turn to days. Ethan spirals. He replays their conversations, stalks her Instagram, and overanalyzes every picture she posts. He isn't observing reality. He's drowning in attachment to the outcome. Now picture another man, James, same situation. She stops replying. James feels the sting, but instead of attaching meaning, he steps back. He tells himself, her silence is data, not destiny. He observes without judgment. Maybe she's busy, maybe she's lost interest, maybe life pulled her elsewhere. But James doesn't chain his self-worth to her behavior. He sees the situation clearly, and that clarity keeps his mind sharp, his emotions steady. This is the essence of observing without attachment. It means seeing what's in front of you without letting your ego twist it. In psychology, this resembles mindfulness practice, training yourself to witness your thoughts without being consumed by them. Men who master this radiate calm, and calmness is magnetic. Think about it like a poker game. The weak player reacts emotionally to every card. He slams the table, he groans, he celebrates too early. The strong player, he sits steady, unreadable, detached. He doesn't cling to any single card, he plays the long game. That's how you win in life and in relationships. So when a woman ignores you, ask yourself, am I seeing reality as it is? Or am I attaching stories to it? Because the truth is, her silence is just silence, nothing more. It only becomes painful when your ego clings to it. Marcus Aurelius urged himself daily to act like a man of reason, not a man of impulse. The Stoic man doesn't obsess. He doesn't chase ghosts. He observes, learns, and moves forward. Detach, observe, free yourself. That's how you win. Point 6, listen more than you talk. There's a reason silence is powerful. It creates space. And in relationships, space reveals truth. Most men fail because they fill every silence with words, explanations, or attempts to prove themselves. But Stoicism teaches us that wisdom begins with listening. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." What does that mean in relationships? It means if you want to truly understand a woman's behavior, you must listen more than you speak. Let me give you a scenario. A man named Mark in Chicago feels ignored by the woman he's dating. Instead of listening, he floods her with messages. Why aren't you responding? Did I do something wrong? I thought we had a connection. Each message pushes her further away because it screams insecurity. He's talking but not listening. Now picture another man, Adam. He notices she's distant. Instead of chasing with words, he steps back. When they meet again, he simply observes. He listens to her tone, her energy, her consistency. He hears what's said, but more importantly, he notices what isn't said. In silence, he gathers more truth than words ever could. In psychology, this is called active listening. It's not just hearing, it's observing body language, tone, and actions. Studies show women often communicate more through subtle cues than direct statements. Men who talk too much miss these cues. Men who listen, however, gain insight and control. Here's the deeper truth. Talking often comes from ego. It's a need to prove, to explain, to control the narrative. But listening comes from strength. It signals, I am calm enough to let silence speak. And when you do that, two things happen. 1, you maintain your frame. 2, you often discover more about her intentions than she ever meant to reveal. Think of a detective interrogating a suspect. The best detectives don't talk endlessly. They ask one question, then let silence hang. The suspect, uncomfortable with the silence, fills it with truth. The same happens in relationships. When you stay quiet, she often reveals exactly where she stands. Marcus Aurelius didn't fill his journals with chatter. He filled them with reflection, listening to his own mind. If the Emperor of Rome could master silence, so can you. So next time she ignores you, resist the urge to flood her with words. Instead, listen, observe, gather data, because a man who listens holds power. A man who talks endlessly loses it. Point 7. Embrace the power of indifference. Indifference. To some, it sounds cold, but to the Stoic, it is strength. Marcus Aurelius taught, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. In other words, do not give energy to what does not serve your higher self. When a woman ignores you, your ego screams for validation. You want her to notice your pain. You want her to feel guilty. But the more you seek reaction, the more power you give her. Indifference flips that script. It signals, your silence does not control me. Let's ground this with a story. Picture Jason in Miami. He meets a woman at a bar. They exchange numbers and she seems excited. But later, she stops replying. Jason feels the sting, but instead of chasing, he shrugs. He continues laughing with his friends, hitting the gym, working on his music. A week later, she texts back. Why? Because his indifference created curiosity. She expected him to beg. Instead, he lived his life. That destroyed her ego. Now imagine the opposite. Another man, Kevin, faces the same situation. But instead of showing indifference, he spirals. He double texts, posts sad quotes on Instagram, and tells mutual friends how hurt he feels. What happens? He hands her total power. His value shrinks. She loses respect. Psychologists call this reverse validation. When someone expects your desperation and instead meets calm indifference, it unsettles their ego. Suddenly the game flips. They wonder, why doesn't he care? Why isn't he chasing? Indifference isn't about pretending not to care. It's about genuinely not letting her behavior disturb your peace. It's waking up in London or New York and still going for your morning run. Still handling business, still laughing with friends, and whether she texts or not. Think about lions in the wild. The male lion doesn't chase every cub for attention. He walks with calm dominance. His indifference commands respect. The female lion follows because his value radiates without effort. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, politics, and war. Yet he reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind. Indifference is proof of that power. It's choosing not to hand over your emotions to someone else's actions. So when she ignores you, don't collapse. Don't react. Be indifferent. Because nothing destroys ego faster than a man who doesn't need validation. Indifference is not coldness. It's freedom. And freedom to a Stoic man is everything. Point 8. Remember, everyone acts from their own world. When someone ignores you, the natural reaction is to take it personally. The ego whispers, she's doing this to hurt me. She doesn't value me. I must not be good enough. But Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, when you wake in the morning, you will meet people who are selfish, arrogant, and ungrateful, but they act from ignorance of good and evil. In other words, people act from their world, not yours. Picture this. A man named Brandon in San Francisco sends a text to the woman he's dating. Hours go by, no reply. Brandon assumes the worst. She's ignoring him. She's with someone else. She's lost interest. His chest tightens. He feels betrayed. But the truth? Maybe she's overwhelmed with work. Maybe she's dealing with family issues. Maybe she's simply distracted. Her silence may have nothing to do with him at all. Yet his ego convinced him it was a personal attack. Here's the lesson. People carry their own battles, burdens, and blind spots. You're not always the cause of their actions. Psychology calls this the fundamental attribution error, the tendency to assume someone's behavior is about us, when in reality, it's about them. Let's flip it. Imagine you had the worst day of your life, job stress, bills piling up, your car breaking down. In that state, if someone texts you, do you always reply right away? Probably not. Does that mean you don't value them? Of course not. It means your world is heavy at that moment. When you remember that everyone acts from their own world, you stop taking silence as a personal attack. You gain perspective. Instead of reacting with anger or neediness, you respond with calm indifference. Her silence is her world. Mine continues. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet reminded himself daily that others' actions reflected their inner struggles, not his value. If the Emperor of Rome didn't take betrayal personally, why should you take one person's silence as a dagger to the heart? So next time she ignores you, breathe, step back. Remind yourself her actions belong to her world, not yours. And the more you separate your peace from her chaos, the stronger you become. Point 9, live as if she doesn't exist. Freedom begins the moment you stop centering your life around someone else. When she ignores you, the temptation is to orbit around her, checking her social media, waiting for her texts, putting your plans on hold. But Marcus Aurelius would say, do not waste the rest of your life worrying about others, unless it affects the common good. To live as if she doesn't exist doesn't mean hatred. It means liberation. Picture this. A man named David lives in Los Angeles. His girlfriend suddenly becomes distant. Instead of moving on, David spends weeks glued to his phone. He cancels plans with friends. He ignores work projects. He puts his entire life on pause, hoping she will come back. And every day she doesn't, his confidence crumbles. David is alive, but he isn't living. Now picture another man, Marcus, in London. Same situation, she ignores him. But instead of shrinking, Marcus expands. He books a trip with friends, takes his guitar lessons more seriously, and starts training for a marathon. He lives as if she doesn't exist. Weeks later, she notices his absence and texts him. By then, Marcus has already built so much momentum that her attention no longer controls him. This is the Stoic way. When you live as if she doesn't exist, you reclaim your freedom. You stop waiting for validation and start living for purpose. Psychology backs this up. Behavioral studies show that people who redirect focus toward personal growth after rejection recover faster, feel stronger, and often attract more attention later, not by chasing but by thriving. Think of it like driving along California's Pacific Coast Highway. The ocean stretches endlessly beside you. The sun sets in waves of orange and gold. Do you slam the brakes every time another driver doesn't wave back? No. You keep moving, enjoying the road, because their acknowledgement has no impact on your journey. That's how you must live. Her silence isn't a stop sign. It's just background noise. Living as if she doesn't exist doesn't mean bitterness. It means you choose freedom over obsession. And when you live free, you become magnetic. People are drawn to those who move forward without needing permission. So ask yourself, will you waste your life orbiting someone who ignores you? Or will you live fully as if her silence is irrelevant? Because the moment you choose the second, you win. Point 10. Turn pain into power. Rejection hurts. Silence cuts deep. But for the Stoic man, pain is not the end. It's the beginning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle is fuel. When a woman ignores you, you face a choice. Let the pain break you, or let it forge you. Take a story. A man named Alex in Boston was madly in love. When she stopped replying, he collapsed. He stopped eating well, stopped training, and drowned in self-pity. Months later, he barely recognized himself in the mirror. The pain broke him. Now compare Alex to Jordan. Same heartbreak, same silence. But Jordan made a different choice. He felt the sting, but instead of collapsing, he converted it into energy. He hit the gym daily, pouring his frustration into iron. He built his business harder than ever, turning nights of loneliness into nights of productivity. Within a year, he wasn't just healed, and he was transformed. His pain had become his power. This is the final Stoic lesson. Whatever hurts you can also build you. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth, the ability to use adversity as a catalyst for strength, clarity, and purpose. Think about coal. By itself it's ordinary, but under pressure over time it becomes a diamond. Your pain is pressure. Will you let it crush you, or shape you into something greater? Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal from friends, loss of children, and the weight of ruling an empire under constant attack. Yet in his journals he never cursed fate. He thanked it, because every obstacle gave him a chance to practice virtue. So when she ignores you, don't see it as the end of your story. See it as the chapter where you rise. Let the silence toughen your heart. Let the loneliness sharpen your focus. Let the rejection push you deeper into your mission. Because the truth is this: women may come and go, attention may fade, but the strength you build from pain never leaves you. Turn the wound into wisdom. Turn the silence into strength. Turn the pain into power. That's how you destroy her ego, and not by chasing, not by begging it, but by becoming so unshakable that her silence becomes irrelevant. Conclusion: when a woman ignores you, the greatest mistake is to lose yourself. The Stoic man doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't crumble, he rises. Marcus Aurelius lived through wars, betrayal, and loss, yet he wrote every night about strength, virtue, and discipline. So ask yourself, if the Emperor of Rome could keep his dignity under pressure, can't you do the same with one person's silence? Destroy her ego by mastering your own. That is the ultimate victory.